The government of Canada outlawed our languages and our cultures, which are our very being. Policies today continue to separate us from our languages. Our voices will not be silenced. Our children will know who they are and where they come from.
Wixis lachs, Westkimstachs, Alamadil, Wakostats, Why, I Machdach, the Alats eat Eich, the Samsmadaich. Why?
This story is about the origins of the many languages here on the coast. The story says that long ago our first ancestors traveled the land.
One of these ancestors had come across a Takwaloch, a longhouse in the mountains.
This was the house of language, where all the language was kept at the beginning of time. Inside, many people lived, and each of them had their own distinct language. This story teaches us that we acknowledge the difference amongst our neighbors up and down the coast, that we were given special languages from the house of language, from our Creator. Why?
BC is one of the places in the world that has the most Indigenous languages spoken. Indigenous languages are important because the languages are born on the land. And when the languages disappear, and when they're no longer spoken, then the voice of the land also disappears. And we need those languages today.
Hihi, hatte namati wak maga. Skitin te guitandi. Kayato. How? Ikusemaga. Ha, muistas. My friend from back home, he's a moose hunter. Moose are disappearing, but he knows exactly where to go this summer. So that's who I will be going on my moose hunting pilgrimage with. Umakituh tigan. Siwip tigans. Tapanas. My language for me is my connection to my community, my culture, my family. It's my connection to the ancestors. It's like an invisible line from the heart into the past. I carry it with me everywhere. A stump. Language, there's a lot of words we have words for, they don't have words for in English. They take a whole sentence or two to explain one single word in Cree. It's really, really fascinating to me how differently we see the world. Concepts like that require scientific explanations, like thunder. The thunderbirds, the thunder beings are calling out to one another. It's just it's more poetic, it's more spiritual. To me, it's more beautiful, more interesting.
Welcome to Co-op Radio 100.5 FM. Well, as you know, Barbara Harris has been co-hosting on this program every Tuesday between 1 o'clock and 2. But what you don't know is about the Master Apprentice program.
How I did it was with my niece, Cindy. In the beginning, because she was a non-speaker at all, I started with words. Single words like oersi, little sentences.
It's a very complex language. Like I would come to Auntie Barb with a sentence that I wanted to learn. The answer that I would get from Auntie Barb was about 5 minutes long because you just can't describe some of the concepts in English very well. And on the other hand, there's these tiny little words that mean so much and so many different things depending on where you put them in the sentence. Angst,
Language provides the structure that we have for living our lives, for being related to each other, for knowing the histories and the words for things. It's as if the world is built from this. So each language has its own little genius in how it's decided that the world works. and it evolves in a community where a life is lived a certain way. So the language has particular phenomena in it that are specific to a particular culture.
We don't ask direct questions of people. We always form it in the negative. So it's like, nim coffee nina. It's like, perhaps you want some coffee to drink?
I think it gives people confidence, especially Aboriginal people, to know their own mother tongue, or even any Aboriginal language.
It's absolutely empowering. It's something that you just feel inside, that I always knew was there.
My heart is happy. Lu am shkodi. Lu am shkodi.
Lu am shkodi.
Yeah.
Throughout history, it has always been known that language is a unifying force. Powerful strategies were developed to separate people from their language, to stop people from communicating with one another. And for the indigenous languages of this area, schools were used as the main strategy to separate children from their ancestors, to separate children from the land, to separate children from their grandparents and from their parents. People believe that indigenous languages are primitive, are uncivilized, simple, and can't handle complex concepts. And so they're not worthy of survival. That belief continues today. That's one of the beliefs that we have to counter. And one way to do that is to share the beauty of our languages.
I started learning my language when I was quite young. We used to hear it a lot because my grandmother's sisters would speak to us all the time. But of course, as kids, we never really became speakers. I didn't start really focusing on becoming a language speaker until I was a teenager. And I decided that I'd like to become a fluent speaker of my language. It's called Mishmigesh. Mishmigesh. You say that? I think as young people, it's part of our responsibility to now take up the language, speak the stories in the language, and preserve our history and pass it down to those not yet born. We use a very important word, butelt. Everything belongs to those not yet born, and it's our job to make sure that these things are preserved for them.